Good morning. Paul here out in the countryside in Queensland, and I'm sitting out by a private observatory where someone has set up this telescope to look at the stars. And I've entitled our talk this morning, Looking Forward and Looking Back. Did you know that when you're looking at the stars through a telescope, you're actually looking back, because the light from the stars takes light years, thousands of years to come all that way to reach your eye. So you're looking at something that happened light years away. But we're looking at the book of Nahum this morning, and the prophets talk about history before it happens. So that's why we're sitting here looking at the book of Nahum in our study of the books of the Bible from down under in Australia. So Nahum was born about 650, maybe 635 BC, and lived all of his life in northern kingdom of Israel under Assyrian rule. He's writing down his vision sometime before 612 BC, when the Babylonians came and destroyed Nineveh. And it becomes clear as we study the prophets that they write history before it happens. God is in control of nations and nature, and he will not tolerate a nation or a people who reign with terror and continue to maximise bloodshed and horror. The prophet Nahum predicted the destruction of Nineveh in the following ways. In Nahum chapter 1 verse 8 he says, "An overflowing flood would make an utter end of its place." Well, that's what happened. The river Tigris flooded and broke the walls of the city, allowing the invading armies to enter and overthrow the city. In Nahum chapter 1 verse 10 it says, "Nineveh would be destroyed while her inhabitants were drunken like drunkards." Nahum 3 verse 13, "Nineveh would be unprotected because fire shall devour the bars of your gates." And in Nahum 3:19, "Nineveh would never recover, for their injury has no healing." And in Nahum 3 verse 12 it says, "The downfall of Nineveh would come with a remarkable ease, like figs falling where the tree is shaken." And Nahum also predicted the colour of the invading army and their uniforms. In Nahum chapter 2 verse 3 he said, "The shields of the soldiers are red, and the warriors are clad in scarlet." And this was exactly the colour of the Babylonian uniforms. Now this is the same city that Jonah was sent to 150 years earlier. At that time the people listened to him and repented, and the Lord spared them. But within a few years the Ninevites had returned to their old ways. And along comes Nahum, and in verse 1 of chapter 3 he said, "Woe to the city of blood, full of lies, full of plunder, never without victims. The crack of whips, the clatter of wheels, galloping her horses and jolting chariots. Charging cavalry, flashing swords and glittering spears, many casualties, piles of dead, bodies without number, people stumbling over corpses." Verse 4, "All because of the wanton lust of a prostitute, alluring the mistress of sorceries, who enslaved nations by her prostitution and peoples by her witchcraft. I am against you, declares the Lord Almighty. I will lift your skirts over your face. I will show the nations your nakedness and the kingdoms your shame. I will pelt you with filth. I will treat you with contempt and make you a spectacle. All who see you will flee from you and say, 'Nineveh is in ruins. Who will mourn for her? Where can I find anyone to comfort you?'" Not a happy sight. Now, as we're thinking about Nineveh and what Nahum was talking about, that city, we've got to remember that Nineveh, the ruins of Nineveh, are right in the middle of the current city of Mosul in Iraq, which is held by ISIS terrorists. And they're carrying on exactly the same as the Ninevites. They're a city of blood. So just remember that as we proceed with this discussion. Nahum tells us in verse 2, the Lord is a jealous and avenging God. The Lord takes vengeance and is filled with wrath. The Lord takes vengeance on his foes and vents his wrath against his enemies. Verse 3, the Lord is slow to anger but great in power. The Lord will not leave the guilty unpunished. His way is in the whirlwind and the storm, and clouds are the dust of his feet. God is in charge of nations and of nature. Verse 14, the Lord has given a command concerning you, Nineveh. You will have no descendants to bear your name. I will destroy the images and idols that are in the temple of your gods. I will prepare your grave, for you are vile. Then this is an amazing statement. Verse 15. Look, there on the mountains, the feet of one who brings good news, who proclaims peace. Celebrate your festivals, Judah, and fulfill your vows. No more will the wicked invade you. They will be completely destroyed. Nahum is actually rejoicing and proclaiming joy at the approaching destruction of Nineveh. He was born in the north under Assyrian rule, and he lived all his life there, and was thrilled that this huge capital city of blood was going to be dealt with by God. And the same's going to happen today. The vile demonic things which are going on today in Mosul will be avenged by the Lord. People are fleeing the violence, the murder, the rape, the pillage, the destruction of this horrific death cult, ISIS. Thousands of young women and children are taken as sex slaves for their fighters. If they refuse sex with them, they are burned alive at the stake. People are beheaded, crucified, impaled, dismembered and slaughtered. It is still a city of blood and horror. As I speak, in June of 2016, the armies of Syria and the armies from Russia are advancing on Mosul from opposite sides, and it is their intention to rid the city of all ISIS terrorists. We can almost exchange the name of Nineveh with the name of Mosul today and share the sentiments expressed by Nahum in his prophetic words. In chapter 3, verse 18, King of Assyria, your shepherds slumber, your nobles lie down to rest, your people are scattered on the mountains with no one to gather them. Nothing can heal you, your wound is fatal. All who hear the news about you clap their hands at your fall, for who has not felt your endless cruelty? You know, Nahum is a very interesting read. I recommend you read it all. Studying the prophets, we can get to know God much better and see how predictable he is. See what he has done, what he's going to do, and see his justice and his mercy for all who love him and follow in his ways. So that's all we're going to be studying from Nahum. But if you're interested in going further through the Bible series, the next book we're studying is Habakkuk. And if you click on the button on the screen, it'll take you to our next Aussie Bible Study from the book of Habakkuk. You have a great day. See you later.